We have a guest on the show right now, and this is a personal friend of myself and Mr. E. Will. He has a new album out titled Wordsmith. Dan Smith, welcome back to the show. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing all right, man. Thanks for having me. Thanks a lot.
All right. E, what are you doing?
I'm dropping the album. You see what I did there?
It's the second time it's been dropped. No.
Well, let's talk about that, man. Let's jump right into it. Tell everybody a little bit about the process to making this album, some of the inspiration for some of the songs and all that good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. This it's called Wordsmith, and my name's Dan Smith, so that kind of explains itself. But a lot of this is so much of my story. Some of it's in plain English, some of it's just steeped in metaphor, just kind of telling about my life and my spiritual journey and crap I've been through, and I think just different stuff that I think different people relate to. So, there's a verse on there about, kind of just the struggle growing up without a dad and struggling through that. Another story in there that's brutal. That's basically my spiritual story. Kind of just some of the stuff I grew up in and the kind of household I grew up in, and just how I found spiritual answers to that. Got invited to church camp, which I thought was the lamest thing in the world, and then ended up following Jesus coming out of that church camp. But that song's called Brutal, and so a lot of this is my story. And there's a Cleveland Pride song in there called Dog Pound, which is just basically, to sum it up, so many people think they know about Cleveland because they flew into the airport. And I'm like,
right.
You don't know anything about Cleveland. So,
right.
So it's just a little bit of that's really an underdog song, just like, you can only be, and I actually wrote and finished that before Cavaliers won the championship.
Oh, wow.
And so there's even some attitude in there, and even some question at the end of like a when will it be, we're going to break the curse kind of thing. And then it was like a month after I finished that song that it happened, and I was like, yes.
Yeah, so you're taking all the credit for that, right?
I am, totally. And Kyrie's shot in Game 7 had a little bit to do with it, and the block in Game 7 had a little bit from LeBron.
A little bit.
But this is so much of this is, it's messages to people who are people of faith, who feel alone and isolated, and just saying, hey, I've been there. I know what that feels like. And then there's some stupidity and silliness in it. There's the shallowest song is called Chicken Poop for the Soul, which is another one of my typical jabs at Christian subculture with their cheesy Southern books called Chicken Soup for the Soul. So just all kinds of stuff like that.
So I got two questions, actually just about the album cover. When you open it up, it's like a full picture front and back combined. Where is this location, man? It's pretty dope. Like, I like the scenery.
Yeah, so this is actually just a few miles up the road from a college I went to. I grew up, born and raised in Ohio, but this is a college I went to just across the line down in Kentucky. And that is actually, that place I'm standing is a place called Sex Rock. The locals call it Sex Rock. And it's a place called Grayson Lake. And I go there to look for interns at my alma mater, Kentucky Christian University, like once a semester. And a lot of times, as funny as it is, me and my dudes will go hang out, yes, at Sex Rock.
Sex Rock, wow.
But man, it's like being a city kid, going out into the country and being at a lake where all the lights are gone. You can just look at the stars, and we go out there and chat, sometimes daytime, sometimes nighttime. But you have to hike to get out there, and so it's just become one of those things that me and my dudes will go out there and just kind of hang out and talk and have a blast. So anyways, took a picture out there that I was like, oh man, I love the spot with the graffiti and all that.
All right, we're talking with Dan Smith, who has a new album out called Wordsmith. I see what you did there.
One other question for those people out there that may not know you. So your name on the thing is obviously Dan Smith, but the S in Smith is a 5. Why don't you go ahead and explain to people why the S is a 5?
Yeah, so Dan Smith is the worst rapper name ever. And I kind of do that on purpose. I've kind of stuck with, man, I really want to be authentic in how I write and all that kind of stuff. And so I just like a stage name. I have them, but I don't use them, to kind of promote my music. And it's just been a thing that I've decided to stick with, even though I know in some ways that might screw me. I like, hey, look me up on iTunes. And seriously, if you go on iTunes, Dan
there's
Smith,
like 100 Dan
oh my gosh.
Smiths,
and
bro.
I'm not even the most famous Dan Smith, let alone a famous, So, there's children's songs, there's stand-up comedians, there's other hip-hop artists, you name it. There's people who write worship or cover worship songs.
Right.
And but the 5 in Smith is kind of a personal trademark. I got a 5 on my left bicep, and my wife has a tiny one just like it on the back of her neck. And it's really kind of a family symbol because there's Smith 5. We got 3 kids, but it's also Galatians 5 in the Bible. I just think a lot of people have Christianity twisted that, if you follow Christ, it's a rule book. And really, Galatians 5 talks about how, no, this isn't a bunch of rules. As the Bible puts it, you're not under the law or the 10 Commandments. But if you follow Jesus, you have a freedom. And basically says, live free, do what you want to do, but basically don't use that freedom to be a bonehead, is my paraphrase. Don't use it just to gratify every pleasure you have and all that, but be led by God's Spirit. So Galatians 5 has always been like a life verse for me. And also I like 5 guys.
That's what it's really for.
Shouldn't it be the Smith 6 now, though? Wasn't there a new addition?
The dog?
Yeah, Sully O'Sullivan.
I keep putting him in his place. Like, hey, Sullivan, I want you to know you're not number 6. All right, you're just a dog.
Send all the hate tweets.
He barks at all my friends with beards like Darvio, and I tell him he's going to get cut from the team if he keeps barking at all my friends. I obviously welcome Darvio in my home. Quit barking at me.
Right? Yeah,
he is a cute dog. Though.
He barked
he's
at me a
awesome,
lot.
man. He's awesome.
So let's talk a little bit about the genre itself, because there's been a lot of movement in the last couple of years in the genre of, if you want to call it, Christian hip hop. Mm-hmm. First of all, I forgot to mention you're an Ohio Hip Hop Award winner, by the way, so we want to put that out there.
Yeah.
But also, like, a lot of the stuff that's going on with Lecrae, like Lecrae signed a deal with Columbia and all these big things that are happening to elevate Christian hip hop. Just talk a little bit about how that makes acceptance of your style of music a little bit easier when you see things like that happening on the national level.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think Christian hip hop, spiritual hip hop, gospel hip hop, all that stuff, I mean, it's in a place that it's never been before. Like, I was listening to it when it was first really being recorded, and it was
really bad.
It was so bad. I mean, it was, this is kind of what I do too, in the sense of the first guys were just preachers who, they didn't even rap. They just thought, hey, here's a way that I can preach over a beat. Like, the very first Christian rap song was by a guy named Stephen Wiley. And oh man, it was so cheesy. But he's a pioneer.
Yeah.
And I mean, let's be honest, like, regular hip hop being recorded, there was some cheesy dudes.
Yeah, I was just about to say, if you go back in like the late 70s, early 80s, some of that stuff was pretty bad.
Oh, so
even the
bad.
Secular hip hop, some of that was pretty bad.
It was like disco artists, crossing over and saying, "Hey, we could talk over a beat."
Yeah,
and,
well, that's what hip hop was born out of.
Man.
Hip hop was
Disco
born out of
beats.
disco.
Yeah, it was, man. I mean, I remember the Fat Boys were the Disco 3 before they were called the Fat Boys. And,
really?
Oh yeah, man. That's the same with Christian hip hop. It was preachers who were rapping over a beat, and but yeah, so it's Christian hip hop's in a place that's never been before. I mean, there's names like Lecrae and Trip Lee, and even a little bit more obscure but still famous Thizzle, and now Andy Mineo, who I'd probably say second to Lecrae from my perception, is just, people are like, man, this guy is incredible. And so yeah, there's a credibility that's coming with what that 116 clique is doing. That's pretty cool.
Right, absolutely. And I guess, like, for me, one of the things is, for a lot of that early Christian hip hop, people in that genre just expected you to accept it because it had the name Christian on it.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, it doesn't work. Like, you can be a Christian basketball player, but if you suck, you're still not going
you don't get to play.
You know what I mean? You're still not going to be able to play in the NBA.
Right.
But now I think that's one of the things that's good about what we're seeing now is that you have people who have a spiritual message but are actually skilled and talented at what they do.
Yeah, and they've always been there, but they've always been hard to find. Like early on, it was SFC, Soldiers for Christ, and it was mainly this one dude named Super C or Soup the Chemist, and oh man, that was he kind of through his cassette tapes kind of discipled me as a Christian when I wasn't allowed to even go to church when I became a Christian, and and I learned scripture from this guy, and man, this guy's incredible. So now I follow him on Instagram and have shouted him out to say, hey man, you made a huge difference in my life. Just by your message and the attitude that came with your message helped me fight through my family who just hated me going to church, So yeah, it's a new era for people who love Jesus, but are also incredible rappers. Some of these guys have really made a name for themselves, and their message has spread pretty far.
Absolutely. And when I was coming up, because I've always been a harsh critic on Christian hip hop because of that, but I was a Gospel Gangsters guy.
Oh man, yeah, they were my favorite. Yep, Solo.
Yeah,
that dude could flow.
Yes, they were really talented. So you're right. Yeah. There's always been it in pockets, but now you see it a lot more, and you're starting to see it get accepted in the mainstream, which is something that you haven't really seen before.
Yep, absolutely.
All right, stay tuned. We'll be right. We will be right back with Dan Smith here on The Outlaws, and we're still here with Dan Smith, who has a new album out called Wordsmith, and my favorite track on the album is track number 3. You got a dope rapper that's on that song.
I wonder why.
No doubt. No doubt. People are like, how'd you get Rick Ross on there? I'm like, man, they didn't even see a picture.
Yes, for the record, by the way, Dan is the pastor of my church, and he actually did this once. You remember that old Conan O'Brien thing where they put the if you're casting a movie and they put people who would look like you side by side? Uh-huh. It was actually one service that I wasn't there, and my Facebook lit up, and I was like, what's going on? He had me side by side with Ross.
Oh my! You know what?
We said if there was ever a movie done in our church, who from our church would, who would play the roles, famous people in our church. So who would play Darby O'Mara? Who would play him? And then boom, oh yeah, Rick Ross.
Oh, and it didn't hurt either that the picture that they used, we were facing the exact same way.
Oh yeah,
had the exact same glasses on.
Had to be done.
It actually, that picture that they used is the cover for the single of Unconditional that he and I did.
I'm actually glad that I didn't get thrown in on that side by side thing, because I can see it now. They'd probably put Peter Griffin next to me.
Peter.
Oh, Peter.
I see it now. I wouldn't have picked it, but I see it.
I was thinking Drew Carey, but
I've gotten Drew Carey. I've gotten Paul Blart Mall Cop. I've gotten
no, not him. You're a ginger.
I get the
Half
Drew
ginger.
Carey.
Mimi.
Who?
From Drew Carey.
Who?
That's what.
Who?
Never mind.
That's awful.
That's disrespectful.
No shade. No tea.
Back to the interview. That was a really dope experience, man. Getting to do that song together. Like, when I first heard the beat, I was like, you know what? This is just based on the way that the chorus was. It kind of took the direction of what the song should be, and I was like, you know what would be really dope is if I had Dan on there. And man, you spit on that song, man.
Thanks, man. Thanks. Yeah, I had fun being on that song, getting a chance to write for it. It was at a time in my life where that theme was really prominent. I was meeting 2 sisters who didn't know I existed, and I had sent a paternity test to my biological father, who I've had very little contact with in my life. And he refused to take the paternity test so that my 2 sisters could know I was related to them.
Wow.
And I was like, are you kidding me? And then you were like, hey, I got a song I want you to rap on. It's called Unconditional. Why don't you do a verse? And I was like, huh. Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot. And so my verse is, kind of dealing with like the blank spot on my birth certificate under father's name that I've seen ever since I was a kid.
Right.
And it kind of lands in that place of there's a verse in the Bible that talks about God being a father to the fatherless. And I've always related to that verse. Like, man, I don't need to have a human, especially a person who, for a lot of other people, lets them down or is abusive and all that kind of stuff. I was like, I don't need that. God's a father to the fatherless. So
Right.
So yeah, man, I loved writing that verse and really enjoyed it. I love that beat,
Man, and the response, man, that we've gotten from that song has been crazy because
It has.
we released it, FCB released it in February, and then you re-released it when your album came out. And I really like, when you're an artist and you're working on something, to you always think that it's good. Like, I don't think you ever go into it thinking, this song is going to suck, right? Like, you're trying to make...
I'm going for upper mediocre.
Right, right. You're trying to make a good song. But I will say, like, when I really realized that the song was kind of penetrating in a way that I didn't anticipate was we were all out. And Jessica's best friend, who I didn't even know had heard any of my music at all, came up to me and she was like, yo, that song was dope. And she was like, yeah, I really like that song. I'm like, you heard that song? And so I'm like, okay, wow. And we've been getting messages on Facebook and stuff from people that are like, oh, we love that song and stuff like that. So that's been really cool.
I preached at a convention a few weeks ago, about a month ago, and there was I went to a concert there from Lacey Sturm, who used to be the lead singer for Flyleaf. So this is like metal. She does some like screaming stuff. And
I actually used to listen to Flyleaf.
It was hard. It was like she's incredible. Right? Yeah, she was incredible. And because I was speaking to this convention, they had my songs. And as soon as the concert ended, with no breath, boom, Unconditional started. And I was like, oh, that was pretty awesome. I love it. I really do. Many people have said that's their favorite song on the album. Many people have.
Yeah, that's really, really dope. So shout out to everybody from our side and Dan's side that's listened to that song.
I do really love that song, but I've always been curious, who does the hook?
His name is Tone Jones. It's out of LA. So it's myself, Dan, and Tone Jones.
Okay, Tone.
Yeah, so yeah, that was definitely dope. So besides that one, tell everybody, like, what are some of your favorite songs on the album, some of your highlights?
Yeah, one of my favorites is track 5, Haunted House. Recorded that as the last one I recorded, Annie Up Studios, which is one of the places where Bone Thugs used to record.
Yep, shout out to Annie Up.
Yeah, just suddenly was shut down, which stinks, but recorded that there. And it's actually based on a really obscure, really the creepiest parable that Jesus told. And so, it's in Luke chapter 11, but it's just this really cool parable about a house that an unclean spirit or a demon lives in, and the person who owns the house kicks them out. And they go and travel around dry places looking for another place to rest. They can't find any. So when they come back to this house, they find it all cleaned up, and they bring 7 other demons with them. And then the house is worse off than it started. And so I was like, man, that's a really cool parable. And I jumped into that to figure out what that meant. And I realized, like, really what that means is you can clean up crap in your life and get rid of this, get rid of that. But if nothing comes in your life to take the place of that stuff, then you can end up worse off. Like kick out one addiction, you get 7 more. I mean, how many times I don't know how if you have been, but I know of people and have been to speak at AA meetings where they're like, dude, you go to an AA meeting, they've gotten rid of alcohol, but they're out smoking like chimneys outside. And if you don't have caffeine at the AA meeting, no coffee, they'll slit your throat, And so I was just like, man, that's true for me. Like, definitely. If I kick one thing out of my life, 7 more things will take over. So it's the idea of you need God to move in. And so this whole thing is about being a haunted house. Like, sometimes you live in a haunted house, sometimes you are one. And you can be haunted by thing after thing until you figure out what fits inside your soul and your spirit. And so I love that song. There's a 10th anniversary mix of goofy internet viral video that I had.
Internet sensation.
And so there's a 10-year anniversary of Baby Got Book, which is obviously a parody of Sir Mix-a-Lot. And his lawyers aren't bothering me anymore about that song. Let's just make that clear. They aren't.
Did they used to?
They did.
Oh, really?
I got the biggest smart aleck email one time from his manager, and I didn't know who it was. And man, he was coming at me through email, and I was like, who is this guy? Like, what is going on?
I want some details now.
Oh, man, like, who is it? And finally I figured out, it's like, this guy's in Sir Mix-a-Lot's camp. Like, and it turned out to be like his manager or something, just talking about sicking lawyers on us. So the lawyer sent me an email cease and desist, which I don't know much about law, but I know an email doesn't cover it.
Right.
And so I was like, I'm not cease and desisting nothing. So, oh man, it was funny. So, but that they laid off that real quick, and So that's another one on there. It's kind of it's an updated version. The original was a cheesy karaoke kind of track of Baby Got Back that I used to do the parody. And so this one's still cheesy as flip, but it's on purpose and it's got better music now. And then my other main favorite is Brutal, which is that one that's the story of me coming to follow Jesus and what my life looked like pre-Jesus, and just growing up in an oppressive home with a bully in my house. My stepdad, he's passed away now, but just was a bully, and just such a dark situation in my house. And so just me trying to learn to deal with growing up in a home with him and being, pushed around and berated, me more verbally, my mom, all of that physically and verbally and all that. Right. And what it was like for my best friend to invite me to church camp, and I went to find virgins. And but I heard some dude, who's like me now, talking in plain English about Jesus and the good news of forgiveness and grace and no conditions attached. And so I just kind of unpacked that whole story, for that. So Church and Steeple also is interesting. Church and Steeple is basically just like, the hook is, here's the church building, here's the steeple, open the doors and see all the evil, treating other people like they ain't equal, and tell them what you'll see when you peek through the peephole. And so it's me saying, man, I love the church, I lead a church, I go to church, all that, but I know there's also a lot of really dysfunctional churches where there's a lot of stupid crap going on. And I'm, not afraid to say, there's some stuff going on in some churches that's wrong, and that there are people who follow Jesus who see that and know it's wrong. There are good churches and lots of them out there.
Right. Absolutely. We're talking with Dan Smith, new album, Wordsmith, out right now. Let's talk about Dog Pound. You touched on it a little bit on the last segment. Now you're shooting a video for it.
Yeah.
Right? So where did you shoot the video at? Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, we got some different locations. So, we got one location in front of First Energy Field, which looks incredible. I thought it would look stupid, and we were just going to sample, hey, what's it look like shooting in front of First Energy Field? It looks so good. One of them's at that Cleveland sign that's down behind the Rock Hall with kind of the skyline behind it. Oh, man, that's just an incredible spot. And we had to pause every 5 minutes just to be polite, to let people take their pictures there. People internationally come to take their picture at that Cleveland sign now. Right. And we also shot in Ohio City. There's a mural there that says "Welcome to Cleveland." It's a real colorful mural that was painted there. So we shot there. And then another one that's really cool is one of those Ohio bicentennial barns. We went and got permission to shoot there. And that's some really cool footage that is kind of shot in a wheat field, by this barn. And so tons of great B-roll of just Cleveland, just showing different spots in Cleveland and stuff like that. We actually went out and shot some more of that today. But it's looking smooth. It's looking really smooth. So we're going to release that August 10th, which is the day of the first preseason game for the Browns.
All right. That's what's up. Now, first of all, let everybody know how to get the album. Where do they go to buy it?
Yeah, you can go to iTunes. You can go to Spotify. You can go to Amazon. It's available everywhere, even the trunk of my car. So selling them out of the trunk.
Old school.
Yeah, selling them out of the trunk. Get them out of my trunk. It's only $9.50. No, I'm just playing. Yeah, so you can get it anywhere, and then some of them are available to preview on YouTube. You can check out my channel on YouTube also.
All right, and I would be remiss if I didn't let you get a plug in from a church.
Yeah, MomentumChurch.com. We also are online if you're outside the Cleveland area. MoChurch.tv. We're live every Sunday morning at 10:30 a.m. We live stream, but then it's available on demand all day on Sunday. But yeah, MoChurch.tv. We're rocking every Sunday.
And I can vouch for the MoChurch.tv. The weekends that I don't get to make it out, I do tune in, and it's almost like you're just sitting in the audience, like you're there.
Yeah,
you're not even missing a beat.
Yeah, definitely.
Literally.
Let everybody know how to get in contact with you on social media, your Facebook, your Twitter, all that good stuff.
Yeah, social media for Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. I'm White Boy DJ. And I gave the pregnant pause there because I was like, that's going to snicker. And then on YouTube and Snapchat, White Boy DJ 5, the number 5.
All right, man. Thank you so much for coming on the show, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Always a pleasure, bro.
Yeah,
Appreciate
absolutely.
it.
Thanks for sharing a verse in Unconditional with me too.
Yes, man. That's dope. I love that song. It's funny. I think I texted this to you. I was at a party with my family at my uncle's house. And, they're old school cats. My uncle's, retired from Ford, still lives in the hood. So we're out there and everybody's chilling and everybody's drinking. And my father decides to play Unconditional. Uh-huh. And they have him play that song like 5 times back back to back to back. And my uncle was like, play that bleep with Darvio and the Pastor.
I like it.